Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sarifia Larasati Putri and my friend Lahtiva Rahmadaniah Putri. We would like to present our material about graphic novel as the 21st century literature midterm project. First, we will discuss about definition of graphic novel. Graphic novel is a book made up of comics content. Also, the word novel normally refers to long fictional works. The term graphic novel is applied broadly and includes fiction, non-fiction, and anthologies work. Fun historian Richard Kyle coined the term graphic novel in an essay in the November 1964 issue of the comics franchise Kappa Alpha. The term gained popularity in comics community after the publication of Will Eisner's A Contract with God and the start of Marvel's graphic novel line. The term graphic novel is contentious. From the 1970s, as the field of comic studies was first emerging as an academic discipline, scholars and others have attempted to define the word comics and to generate a critical terminology appropriate to support the definition. The debate over so-called graphic novels touches upon this complex situation. For many, the word comics denotes a periodical for children published on a weekly or monthly basis, sold at newsstands or in specialty comic book stores, often with pages devoted to advertising and when intended for younger readers, competition and puzzles. In contrast, graphic novel is usually taken to mean a long comic narrative for a mature audience, published in hardback or paperback and sold in bookstores, with serious literary themes and sophisticated artwork. However, these distinctions are somewhat spurious, as comics are found in all shapes and formats, appeal to many different groups and age ranks, and encompass a huge variety of genres and styles. Moreover, graphic novels are often not original publications, but rather repackaged collections of serially published comics, while some material is produced especially for the graphic novel market. Bookshops and libraries make no real distinction, so the term graphic novel often serves no serious descriptive purpose. Here we will discuss four graphic novel. The first one is Pyongyang, A Journey in North Korea by Guy Delisle. The second one is The Combat Persepolis by Marjan Satrapi. The third one is Fun Home by Alison Bechtel. The fourth one is Jimmy Corrigan, The Smartest Kid on Earth by Chris Ware. The first graphic novel we will talk about is Pyongyang, A Journey in North Korea by Guy Delisle. Guy Delisle, born in Quebec City in January 1966, is a Canadian cartoonist and animator. He studied animation at Sheridan College in Oakville, near Toronto, and then worked for the animation studio Chien Group in Montreal. Guy Delisle now lives in the south of France with his wife and two children. Delisle spent 10 years working in animation, which allowed him to learn about movement and drawing. He later worked for different studios in Canada, Germany, France, China, and North Korea. Pyongyang, A Journey in North Korea is a black and white graphic novel by the Canadian Quebecois author Guy Delisle, published in 2004. The novel details the months Delisle spent in Pyongyang while working for a French animation company. Pyongyang is the story of a Quebecois cartoonist named Guy Delisle. Guy Delisle gets around. He's a world traveler. He's been to China, Burma, Jerusalem, and of course Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, in 2003. A Westerner's visit into North Korea, told in the form of graphic novel, famously referred to as part of the axis of evil. North Korea remains one of the most secretive and mysterious nations in the world today. Guy just goes around describing what he sees: poverty, isolation, and lots of sexy photos of Kim Jong-il. Leslie arrives in Pyongyang, bringing, in addition to the items that he was authorized to bring into the country, a copy of George Orwell's 1984 that he judged appropriate for a totalitarian state, CDs of Apex Twin, and prisons like Chitan's cigarettes and Hennessy cognac. During his 2-month visit, he stays at the Yanggakdo International Hotel and visits other foreigners in the Koryo Hotel. The second graphic novel is The Complete Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. Marjane Satrapi, born in 1969 in Ras, Iran, Iranian artist, director, and writer whose graphic novels explore the gaps and the junctures between East and West. She grew up in Tehran, where she attended the Lycée Francaise. After the Iranian Revolution of 1979, her family's Western way of life drew the attention of Iranian authorities, and by 1984, her parents had decided to send her to Austria to attend school. Persepolis is based on the life of the author Marjane Satrapi put into a graphic novel. As a 10-year-old girl, the author is forced to wear a veil to school by those that call for a cultural revolution in Iran. There are many protests, both for and against this cultural revolution. Her French non-religious school is abolished, and boys and girls are separated for education. Her mother protests against the changes and her picture appears in newspapers across Europe. She and her friends play pretend a lot, pretending to be famous revolutionaries. She knows about war history because of the books that her parents give her, especially Dialectic Materialism, which is an argument between Marx and Descartes about whether or not the material world exists. One night, while talking to God, she overhears her parents talking about a fire at a local theater in which 400 people died. The fire was ordered by the Shah, who has since left Iran for Egypt after protesters demonstrated against him. People have tried to overthrow the king in order to institute a republic. The British supported this plan, and Reza Shah became the emperor of Iran. He was not from an aristocratic family, but had been a soldier who fought against the king during World War I. Upon its release, the graphic novel received high praise, but was also met with criticism and calls for censorship. Time magazine included Persepolis in its Best Comic of 2003. Andrew Allnut of Time described Persepolis as sometimes funny and sometimes sad, but always sincere and revealing. Mary Osby points out that Satrapi's work marks as a watershed movement in the global history of the graphic novel, exemplified by the recent increase in use of the graphic novel as a cross-cultural form of representation for the 21st century Middle East. The third graphic novel we will discuss about is Fun Home by Alison Bechtel. Alison Bechtel was born on 10 September in 1960, is an American cartoonist, originally best known for the long-running comic strip Dykes to Watch Out For. She came to critical and commercial success in 2006 with her graphic memoir Fun Home, which was subsequently adapted as a musical that won a Tony Award for Best Musical in 2015. In 2012, she released her second graphic memoir, Are You My Mother? She was a 2014 recipient of the MacArthur Genius Award. She is also known for the Bechtel test. The narrative of Fun Home is nonlinear and recursive. Incidents are told and retold in the light of new information or themes. Bechtel describes the structure of one home as a labyrinth, going over the same material but starting from the outside and spiraling into the center of the story. In an essay on memoirs and truth in the academic journal PMLA, Nancy K. Miller explains that as Bechtel revisits scenes and themes, she recreates she recreates memories in which the force of attachment generates the structure of the memoir itself. Additionally, the memoir derives its structure from allusions to various works of literature, Greek myth, and visual arts. The events of Bechdel's family life during her childhood and adolescence are presented through this allusive lens. Miller notes that the narratives of the reference literary text provide clues, but true and false, to the mysteries of family relation. The memoir focuses on Bechtel's family and is centered on her relationship with her father Bruce. Bruce was a funeral director and high school English teacher in Beech Creek, where Alison and her siblings grew up. The book's title comes from the family nickname for the funeral home, the family business in which Bruce grew up and later worked. The phrase also refers ironically to Bruce's tyrannical domestic rule. Bruce's two occupations are reflected in Van Holm's focus on that and literature. And the last graphic novel we will discuss about is Jimmy Corrigan, the Smartest Kid on Earth by Chris Ware. Ware often refers to himself in the publicity for his work in self-effacing, even withering tones. He is considered by some critics and fellow notable illustrators and writers such as Dave Eggers to be among the best currently working in the medium. Canadian graphic novelist Seth has said, Chris really changed the playing field. After him, a lot of cartoonists really started to scramble and go, "Holy expletive, I think I have to try harder." Jimmy Corrigan is a meek, only 36-year-old man who meets his father for the first time in the fictional town of Waukesha, Michigan, over Thanksgiving weekend. Jimmy is an awkward and cheerless character with an overbearing mother and a very limited social life. After an ill-timed phone call, Jimmy agrees to meet his father without telling his mother. The experience is stressful for him as he can barely communicate with anyone other than his mother, let alone his estranged father. The two do very little together, and Jimmy's father, while well-intentioned, comes off to Jimmy as slightly racist and inconsiderate. A parallel story set in the Chicago World's Columbian Exposition in 1893 shows Jimmy's grandfather as a lonely little boy and his difficult relationship with an abusive father, Jimmy's great-grandfather. The novel used numerous flashback scenes and parallel storylines. Many pages are devoid of text and some contain complex iconic diagrams. Notable motifs in Jimmy Corrigan include a robot, a bird, a peach, a miniature horse, and a flawed superhero figure. Okay, here's the end of our explaining about graphic novel. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.